Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. This is our very first album review of 2025, and we're kicking things off in style. Polish Orthodox black metal style, in fact, with the latest full-length studio album from Patriarkh entitled something. There's a bunch of Polish letters and symbols in the album's official title that I can't read and don't understand. I have been told that it roughly translates to Prophet Elijah in English. That is what we will refer to the album as from here on. This is technically the third full-length studio album from Patriarkh. I say technically because at a certain point they operated under the name Batushka. They were one of two different bands to operate under this name. Why were there two Batushkas? We don't have the time to tell that story. The short version is that there was a band called Batushka that was incorporating influence from like Polish and Orthodox religion and music and culture and stuff. And then there was kind of some infighting, and then they went to court, and then I guess someone had to settle, and now this version of Batushka is now Patriarkh. Ta-da! And even if Patriarkh lost that particular legal battle, they're arguably winning the music war because the official Batushka has not released anything in years, whereas Patriarkh keeps on building up hype and momentum in black metal clout with every single release. So much so that there was a handful of people genuinely confused and even upset because I did not mention this album in my most anticipated metal albums of 2025 video that I put out quite recently at the very beginning of this year. The reason for that is very simple. I straight up did not know that this was coming out. It was not on my radar whatsoever. I concede that it probably should have been. Because Patriarkh are doing some really cool things, man. All of those like Eastern European, Polish, Orthodox, musical, cultural influences and stories continue to embolden Patriarkh. They are woven more and more into their brand of stark and ferocious and moody and brutal black metal. This album in particular is their biggest and boldest yet. It is their first with Napalm Records, and it is also a concept album. A concept album that details a true story that happened in the band's home area of Podlasie in the village of, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. In the 1930s and 40s, the album takes a listener into the world of Elias Klimazuk. Oh my god, I'm fucking up all these goddamn names. The titular prophet Elijah, an illiterate peasant who was the leader of the Orthodox sect, active until the 1960s, cultivating and transmitting the history of the self-proclaimed prophet. Patriarkh are spreading their gospel by using an arsenal of folk instruments such as tegel harpa, mandolin, mandocello, hurdy-gurdy, and stringed dulcimer, and worked with a symphony orchestra and choirs to give their new creations the most organic and vivid feeling possible. Also, on top of that, Patriarkh uses fragments of text from the theater play ПРОРОК ИЛИЯ and draws from the messages contained in the words of another name that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, combining it with folk and liturgical text. That was English. I'm just a dumbass. That was pure plain English. I just couldn't say it right because I'm a fucking dumbass. God, this press release is long and dense. It goes on for forever. Look, the point is Patriarkh getting bigger, getting bolder, getting crazier, getting better. This is, in my opinion, their best album to date. Their most cohesive, their most cinematic, their most engaging, and their most entertaining and fulfilling. In what is now, I guess, true Patriarkh fashion, every single song technically shares the same title, just split up into various parts. Here we have Wersalin, I believe it's pronounced. I'm definitely fucking that up, and I apologize once again. You know what? New Metal Meltdown Patriarkh drinking game. Take a shot every time I completely butcher or refuse to pronounce something in fear of butchering it. Case in point, from here on, we're just gonna call every song Part 1 or Part 2. The double whammy of Part 1 and Part 2 sets this album off on a pretty cold and stark and powerful little beginning. The combination of moaning, chanting, spoken word vocals, and then later on some more atypical kind of black metal shrieks and howls, I think makes for a very consuming and interesting kind of vocal display. I mean, you've got these hard-hitting, plodding rhythms and these like crescending melodies and atmospheres and these like belting vocals that just make it sound like the hand of God itself is raining down on people. And as time goes on and more fast-paced percussion and guitar work is introduced and heavier, darker darker tones are introduced, it just emphasizes how big and important this number is meant to be. Like, even though I'm unable to tell you what specifically is happening in the narrative of the song, the weight of what is happening is still felt. Part 3 follows this up in a very interesting way. It kind of doesn't immediately grab the baton and run off. It spends a lot of time kind of creating additional textures and atmospheres, introducing more vocal dynamics, more vocal layering, more harmonies. You have melodies that really do sound like they would be sung during service in an old Orthodox church. You have these very serene and simple kind of feminine cleans, kind of like piercing through these displays of more moaning, chanting vocals, creating a very heavenly kind of effect. And though there is some pretty meaty double bass percussion kind of riding underneath everything, it's not really especially heavy or brutal, or at least it's not really trying to be. The percussion here is more so trying to elevate everything else, to create this kind of towering effect and feel. Like, this kind of extreme metal percussion is not the vehicle, it is the foundation. In fact, it's only really after a few minutes that Patriarkh finally do start to introduce some heavier, darker, more black metal extreme-esque textures and tones and such. But even then, this very heavenly kind of feel and effect is still intact, you know? It almost feels like Batushka's take on some more atmospheric black metal and blackgazy kind of stuff. And then there's part 4, which straight up just sounds like I'm on some kind of mystical adventure in the mountains. There is some amazing clean vocal work in the latter half of this song, some great extreme outbursts all the way through, providing a little bit of extra spice and oomph. And on the flip side, part 7 is just kind of freaky and scary. Like, it's got a genuinely pretty menacing kind of feel and atmosphere, with these really ugly, venomous kind of vocal spats all through, some very haunting kind of spoken word passages. Part 8 is also an amazing closing number, a culmination of and combination of everything we've kind of talked about thus far, everything that you'll hear all throughout the album. And honestly, I'm in love with the overall production and presentation of this record. It has such a clean and crisp and organic sound and feel. Even when it goes into more bombastic territory, everything is so well balanced, it's never overwhelming. There's a small part of me that would really like to give this album a 4.5 out of 5, and it's certainly right there on the edge. But I do think that ultimately the album would really benefit from some more visceral and dynamic riffage. Like, it's really lacking in the black metal riff department, like having really memorable riffs all through. And like, sure, I get it. I understand that maybe riffs aren't the most important thing here, but even so, some more visceral and dynamic riffage would make all the difference in some key areas. So for that reason, I'm going to stick for the moment with a 4 out of 5, a very enthusiastic one at that. I do feel like as I listen to this album more and more, and as I kind of continue to peel back certain layers and all that, maybe it will grow on me even more so. I mean, especially it's the beginning of the year. There's plenty of time for this to grow on me. But you know, whatever, fuck it. Who the fuck is gonna argue with a very enthusiastic 4 out of 5? You know what? I'm not even gonna say that, because Lord knows somebody will. Somebody always does, because somebody doesn't have anything better to fucking do. No one in particular, just somebody. You know who you are. In conclusion, Prophet Elijah, Patriarkh, haunting, cinematic, genuinely kind of unique, doing a great job filling that void left by Batushka. I highly recommend it. 4 out of 5, and a very enthusiastic one at that. Definitely check it out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I am not an expert, nor do I claim to be, contrary to popular belief. So what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown. You fucking immediately, boom, other videos. Wow, how'd they get there? How does that keep happening? I'm scared. How does that keep happening? And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.